So I've been meaning to talk about this story for a long time now. I just haven't got around to it. There's so much other stuff going on. But let's take a look at this story of Brandon Marshall, the Denver Bronco, kneeling on the opening game against the Panthers. And it's in regards to, obviously, the Colin Kaepernick stuff. But this guy was actually the first to kneel in the regular season. And they later tell us that, or they keep mentioning in this game, how he went to college with Colin Kaepernick at Nevada. And on 9/11, not only did we get Hillary Clinton collapsing, the odds, a collapse on 9/11, but we also got a plane crash that happened in Reno, Nevada, which just so happens to be where Colin Kaepernick and Brandon Marshall went to college. So, honestly, on September 11th, two headline articles on CNN were Hillary Clinton collapsing, and we also had a plane wreck. Just think about that in regards to 9/11. And, this guy seems to be connected back to Pennsylvania or Philadelphia. If you followed my channel for the last couple of years, I mentioned how so much stuff seems to go back to Philadelphia, and the reason is because Philadelphia comes from the book of Revelation in the Bible, and it's the book of prophecy. A lot of things always seem to stem back to the book of Revelation and prophecy and Philadelphia. Philadelphia is very important to the beginning of our nation. It's also where the Fresh Prince is from, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And there's a whole lot of royalty coding that's going on. I'm going to show a little bit extra stuff towards the end of this video and how a lot of stuff I've been mentioning I never noticed before, but it actually ties back into King Charles, and if Queen Elizabeth dies, Prince Charles will become King Charles III. And that's part of the reason I think we're getting a lot of the Civil War, civil rights type coding in the media constantly, because King Charles was the king during the English Civil War, also his son King Charles II, so then Prince Charles would become King Charles III. It seems very fitting. But anyway, let's look at this story here. So Brandon Marshall wears number 54 for the Denver Broncos. If you write out the word 54, it equals 54. It also equals 126 the big way. And notice how they put this phrase in captions, create dialogue. If you write that out in gematria, it equals 126. This guy wears number 54. 54 equals 126. Like I said, he also played for Nevada, and he played with Colin Kaepernick at Nevada. Colin Kaepernick just super headliney, always in the media lately. I'll leave the playlist that I've been making showing how all of these stories are super interrelated, even Teddy Bridgewater's injury and how it's connected to Colin Kaepernick and Dwayne Wade going to the Nebraska Cornhusker game, and how his cousin just supposedly died in Chicago. There's a whole lot to it. Like I said, I'll leave a link in the description, but there's a whole lot of stuff going on. And when I looked up Nevada, one of the big things that stuck out to me was the name is the Wolf Pack. They're Nevada Wolf Pack. And if you watch that playlist, you'll see that I've mentioned a whole lot about the movie Teen Wolf and how it connects clear back to the NBA All-Star Week of 2015 when Andrew Wiggins, a teen wolf at the time, he was 19 years old, played for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He won the Rising Star Challenge MVP. The next night on Valentine's Day, a teammate of his who was also 19, a teen wolf, won the slam dunk contest doing the Michael Jordan Space Jam dunk, and then Russell Westbrook won the MVP of the All-Star game, and they all have ties back to UCLA. Zach LaVine played for UCLA, Russell Westbrook played for UCLA, Andrew Wiggins became a Teen Wolf because he got traded for Kevin Love, and Kevin Love played for UCLA. Last year in 2015, Nebraska somehow got a bowl game with a 5-7 record, and they played the Foster Farms Bowl in Levi's Stadium, where Colin Kaepernick also plays. And that's super connected to Moses, and Nebraska's connected to Moses as well. I'm going to skip over that. Just want to point out, Nebraska also had their new coach, Mike Riley. who is also very well known for being the coach for the Oregon State Beavers. If you look up the movie Teen Wolf, the mascot in that movie is the Beavers, and it's based off of the Oregon State Beavers. There's also a Civil War theme, or a Civil War themed play in that movie. And think about it in regards to Abraham Lincoln, Lincoln, Nebraska. There's also Nebraska Cornhusker stuff all throughout the movie in the background. The movie's not set there. It wasn't filmed there. It doesn't, nothing. So it doesn't make any sense why all that stuff's in the background, except for to foreshadow the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the connection to Teen Wolf. Also, the NBA All-Star Week that happened in 2015, it just so happened to fall on a Roman festival that's 3 days. It's called Lupercalia. It's where they celebrate and sacrifice a wolf or a dog. It's also why Kevin Garnett went back to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then literally Flip Saunders dies just before the beginning of the season, the next season. Anyway, also in regards to Wolfpack and thinking of Nevada, it makes me think of the movie The Hangover. I didn't go back and watch this movie, but they go to Las Vegas, and the fatter guy, whatever his name is, he drugs them all, and he calls them the Wolfpack. It's a big thing. He wants them to be the Wolfpack and whatnot. And we also had the death of Tupac's mother this year, and Muhammad Ali, and there's a whole bunch of stuff connecting to Philadelphia in regards to Sylvester Stallone, who is Rocky. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. It's super connected to Philadelphia and fighting. And the reason I bring that back up is because Tupac died after attending the Mike Tyson fight. Then we get Tupac's mom dying. Sylvester Stallone was at the Nice, France attack. Muhammad Ali dies. We even literally got the story about the president in the Philippines talking about cussing at Obama. I can't remember exactly what he said, but that just reminds me of Muhammad Ali once again, the Thrilla in Manila. And what's interesting about that is the guy that he beat was Joe Frazier, the guy from Philadelphia. And if you look this guy up, his stuff fits perfectly to everything I've talked about. I've mentioned the number 112 and the number 117. This guy born on January 12th and dies on 11/7. I'm not going to re-explain it. Just you have to watch the playlist in the description. It's super fitting to everything I've talked about. Also, I guess later that night on ESPN, after the game, they had Cam Newton on there because he kept getting hit in the head or whatever. And look at the headline, Super Bowl hangover, right? And then the guy from the Wolfpack in Nevada is the guy who kneels during the national anthem. And then they even write Super Bowl hangover on the headline. So I'm assuming there must be something connected to that movie. I should go back and watch it. I just haven't had enough time. Another interesting thing that happened in this Broncos game was Andy Janovich, the former Nebraska Cornhusker. He got his first carry and he ran for a 28-yard touchdown. It was his only carry of the game even. In Gematria, his name equals 54, just like Brandon Marshall's number, also 126. Remember, if you write out 54, it equals 126. Last year, he played for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. It was their 126th season. He also wore number 35 at Nebraska. If you write out Nebraska, it equals 35. And I talked about this guy a decent amount last year in a bunch of my videos. He kind of just came out of nowhere. But the Southern Miss game was the one I talked about him the most. And he had a 53-yard touchdown catch. If you write out Southern Miss equals 54. Just interesting in regards to his name. I even looked him up on Wikipedia. It said that he won the state championship in wrestling in high school with a 53-0 record. Nebraska equals 53 with the S and K exception as well. And since it was Andy Janovich's first game, I thought, I wonder about Brandon Marshall's first game ever. And I looked it up. He played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Interesting, as much as I've been talking about Minnesota and the Colts and Houston and how it's all connected, his first game ever was against the Vikings. Then the next game was against Houston, who was hosting Super Bowl 51. And then the next game was against the Indianapolis Colts. So, definitely something to think about. Who knows if that's anything, but one of the big deals in the Broncos game, this guy scoring a touchdown on his first game, made me want to look back at Brandon Marshall's first game as well. Also in the roast of Rob Lowe that Peyton Manning was there, he jokes about the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that was Brandon Marshall's original team. So just kind of interesting. And if you notice, he only played 5 games with them, and the only game that they won was against the Colts. Not sure if that's what that might signify, but it is very interesting. It also just so happened to be on 9/23 of 2012. 9/23, a very significant date. In 2015, it was very connected to Pope Francis's visit to the United States it came to an end in Philadelphia the night of the final blood moon of the Tetrad. When he was in Philadelphia, he even gave a speech on Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address lectern, which is very interesting in regards to all the Civil War type theming in the media. I'll have to go back and look. Now that I'm thinking about it, I believe even on CNN, they interviewed a couple in the crowd who was from, maybe it wasn't Lincoln, but they were definitely from Nebraska, and the Pope touched their kid's head or whatever. I can't remember. I need to go back and look. I forgot about that until just talking about that. But I remember Pope Francis gave that speech at exactly 4:44 p.m. The word Masonic equals 444. Anyway, in regards to Brandon Marshall still, when he was in Jacksonville, he wore the number 53. Like I said, Nebraska equals 53. His first game for the Broncos was in 2013. He didn't play until week 17. If you write out week 17, it equals 54. He wears the number 54 for the Broncos. Another thing that I had wondered in regards to him playing for Jacksonville, if it's possibly connected to the New York Giants, another team that has been of interest in regards to being in the Super Bowl possibly. And, the reason why is because the Panthers and Jacksonville both came into the league at the same year as expansion teams or whatever. And their first ever coach was Tom Coughlin, who also won 3 Super Bowls coaching the Giants. He even has ties to the Eagles and the Green Bay Packers, both teams that I have mentioned in regards to all of these interrelated stories. Colin Kaepernick even from Milwaukee. Dwayne Wade went to college in Milwaukee. Sam Foltz, the Nebraska punter, died in Wisconsin. Another thing, in regards to Brandon Marshall, it reminds me a lot of Brandon Marshall, the other Brandon Marshall, the guy who even played for the Miami Dolphins. He played in Chicago. Just areas of interest. He now plays for the Jets. Jets equals 54 in Gematria. So just interesting. This guy plays for the team that equals 54. This guy has the same name and wears number 54. So moving on. This guy went to Nevada just like Colin Kaepernick, and the University of Nevada is in Reno. And on 9/11, we had a Hillary Clinton collapsing. We also had this plane wreck, 3 dead and plane crash at Reno Airport. And this story was a total tribute to 9/11. Interesting, it says no one on the ground was injured, but at least 15 cars were damaged. And it was on the 15th anniversary of 9/11. If you write out the word cars, it equals 14 and 41. If you write out the word 14, it even equals 41. 9/11, there was a whole bunch of 41 stuff. It happened on a date numerology of 41. Muslims equal 41. Al-Qaeda equals 41. Airplanes equals 41. It was George Bush was the president. Everybody knows him for being in the Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones equals 41. I also don't think it's any coincidence that 3 people died. The reason 3 people died is because if you write out the word 3, it equals 56. 56 is a very, very special number, and every big event that's happened, or you've been taught that's happened, Osama bin Laden equals 56, Adolf Hitler equals 56, Saddam Hussein equals 56, ISIS equals 56. And in regards to 9/11, other than Osama bin Laden and the word president equaling 56, 9/11 was a whole bunch of stuff in regards to the number 68. If you write out 68, it equals 56. 1968 was 33 years before 9/11. 33, the highest degree in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. It was also the year that AT&T made 911 the emergency dialing code. It was the year that George Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones. 9/11 even happened 68 days after George Bush's birthday. 68 is also very still popular in regards to the time we're living in now. In Gematria, Pope Francis equals 68, Donald John Trump equals 68, Barack Obama equals 68, Prince Charles equals 68. Hillary Clinton right now is 68 years old. She'll turn 69 in another month. But if you write out 68 the big way, 68 the big way is 146, a number. 56 and 146 are numbers I've often talked about in regards to Philadelphia. Allen Iverson equals 56 and 146. Also, his coach Larry Brown equals 56 and 146. But anyway, Prince of Wales equals 146. The Fresh Prince comes from Philadelphia. United Kingdom equals 146. Colin Kaepernick equals 146. In regards to Teen Wolf, the kid in the movie, his character's name is Scott Howard, that equals 146. Kevin Garnett equals 146. Kevin Garnett was the original Teen Wolf in the NBA. And this year, in regards to Revelation and whatnot, Pope Francis's 1,189th day as being the Pope was on June 14th, 14/6. It was also Donald Trump's 70th birthday. So anyway, let's get back to the story, and then I'll show you why Philadelphia and Pennsylvania are significant yet again. So the airport that this supposedly happened at, Reno Tahoe International Airport. Very interesting, because the word Pennsylvania equals 152 in Gematria, and so does Brandon Marshall, the big way, 152. Just like Pennsylvania, the small way equals 53. That big number that keeps popping up, Chelsea equals 53, like Chelsea, Manhattan, where we had the attacks, or the pipe bomb in the trash can. And, in the last video, a couple videos, I mentioned a lot of 53, so going to move on. But I also just realized if you write out King Charles, it equals 53. And there's just been so much royalty coding going on, especially in regards to sports. They were all connected to Prince Charles or the English Civil War. King Charles I, was the first guy to rule in the English Civil War. And he was the son of King James, the guy who had the King James Bible created. And, if you write out Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in Jewish Gematria, it equals 1,611. A lot like the year that the King James Bible came out. And look at this. So, King James died on March 27th, 1625. That's when King Charles became the new king. If you go from that day to the day Philadelphia was founded, it's a span of 57 years, 7 months. The reason that stands out to me so much is because 577 just so happens to be the 106th prime number. The word prophecy equals 106. So, I'm talking about how Philadelphia is connected to the book of prophecy, the book of Revelation. Prophecy equals 106. King James was a huge Freemason too. There's no doubt about it. When you look up the guy, there's all kinds of stuff about him. He dies age 58. The word Freemasonry equals 58. He was the king of England for 22 years, 3 days, a lot like 223. The synagogue of Satan equals 223. The word Masonic equals 223. In regards to the King James Bible in 1611, and in regards to Philadelphia, and Pope Francis ended his trip in Philadelphia last year, if you write out Pope Francis, he equals 404 in Jewish Gematria. He arrived at the United States at 4:04 p.m. There's 404 verses in Revelation. Last year was 404 years after 1611 when the King James Bible came out. Prince Charles also equals 404. So I guess moral of the story, I just wanted to re-point out, I think a lot of this goes back to King Charles. I mean, or the royal family, there's all this royal coding in everything, and I didn't realize King Charles equals 53, which is super connected to everything. That's why Nebraska is even more connected, because King Charles connects to Civil War, and Nebraska connects to the American Civil War. So back to this story about the plane crashing and how it connects to 9/11. So Reno Tahoe International Airport 152. If you look it up, it even talks about how it has the 152nd Airlift Wing of the National Guard. Go figure. The coordinates also are very interesting in regards to 9/11. 39 degrees north, 119 degrees west. Just think about 119, the backwards 9/11 even. New York equals 39, NY equals 39, New York the Empire State, Empire equals 39, New York founded on a date numerology of 39. There's 39 books in the Old Testament. It all goes back to the Bible. And there's a whole lot more 39 in regards to New York. Even the Mets won one game in the World Series last year. They won 3-9 or 9-3. Anyway, Reno, Nevada is named after this guy, Jesse Lee Reno. And what stuck out right away, the guy died age 39, also born on the 110th day of the year. Both big numbers in regards to 9/11. The World Trade Centers were 110 stories tall. This guy's name, Jesse Reno, even equals 110. Osama bin Laden, the big way, equals 110. Rockefeller equals 110. The World Trade Centers were proposed and approved by a Rockefeller. Even next to the Pentagon, there's a highway 110. If you read out 911, it equals 110. Also, the day he died, 14/9. If you write out Skull and Bones, the big way, it equals 149. Reno Airport equals 149. Also, this guy dies 39 years exactly before William McKinley dies, which has been a very big topic in regards to what I've been talking about in Obama giving his final State of the Union. He went to Omaha, Nebraska the next day, then he went to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and gave a speech at McKinley High School. But think about Baton Rouge, Louisiana, all the stuff we got with Alton Sterling, we've got flooding, all kinds of stuff going on there. So Obama gives a speech at McKinley High School. McKinley's vice president was Teddy Roosevelt, and Teddy Roosevelt gave a famous speech about carrying the big stick in Falcon Heights, Minnesota. Falcon Heights, Minnesota is where Philando Castile was supposedly murdered. We got that story the same day that we got the Alton Sterling story. And just days after Teddy Roosevelt gave that speech is when McKinley got shot, and then he died on September 14th. So also, in regards to Nevada and the Wolfpack and Colin Kaepernick, if you write out Nevada Wolfpack, it equals 53, a big number of significance, also 134. If you write out King Charles III, it equals 134. And the day that happened was even 53 days before Colin Kaepernick's birthday on November 3rd. It also said that the plane in that wreck was a Piper Cherokee. Once again, Piper Cherokee equals 80 and 134. King Charles III equals 80 and 134. I also found it interesting, Reno Airport in Gematria equals 555 in Jewish Gematria. And that's just very interesting because the Iraq War started 555 days after the 9/11 attacks. The day the Iraq War started, March 20th, just interesting that Obama also went to Cuba this year on that day. That's when he began his trip to Cuba. And then, of course, when he was there on March 22nd, 322 or 223, we got the Belgium attacks. Also, if you write March 20th, as they would in other countries, 20/3, a lot like 203. It's just been a big number I've been talking about in regards to 919. And Pope Francis began his trip to the United States last year on 919, going to Cuba. It was at exactly 26 weeks, 2 days before Obama went to Cuba. 919, also the 262nd day of the year. The word Clinton equals 262. She clinched the nomination 262 days after 919 last year. And CNN had a headline with Bernie Sanders with his arm up saying, "The struggle continues." If you wrote that out, it equals 262. The word queen equals 26 the small way and 62 the big way. Just reminds me a lot of 262. But anyway, in regards to 203, where this guy died, Jesse Reno, the guy that Reno is named after, he died in Boonesboro, Maryland. That equals 203 in Gematria. And it's also located on 39 degrees north, 77 degrees west, and it equals 77. That guy also served in a whole bunch of wars that I have mentioned throughout the past year: the Mexican-American War, the Civil War, the Utah/Mormon War. There's a big thing going on with the Mormons in regards to 923 and 239. And if you watch my playlist that I'm going to leave in the description, I talk a lot about the date of 7/6 this year when we got the Alton Sterling Philando Castile stories. A lot of stuff connects back to that. That's even the day that Dwayne Wade signed with the Chicago Bulls. It was also Nebraska coach Mike Riley's birthday. Lots of stuff going back to that. Just wanted to point out, Brigham Young also died at the age of 76. I don't know why I threw that in here, but might as well just say it since it was there. But, hopefully all this makes sense. But there's a bunch of interrelated stories, and it just goes back to all of the same stuff with Colin Kaepernick. And then they're showing you Nevada, or Reno, Nevada. And literally, we got a plane crash there on 9/11, the same day Hillary Clinton collapses. This type of stuff happens in the media constantly. There's always tributes to certain events. And, one last thing I'm going to end the video on here. Just makes me wonder, in regards to the 555 stuff, if you go from the Paris attacks last year, and you go 555 days later, it takes you to May 21st, 2017, which, very interesting. That's the 141st day of the year next year. If you write out World War III, it equals 141. And it's also a span of 1 year, 6 months, 8 days. And if you write out Queen Elizabeth II, it equals 168. Also, New York City equals 168. Who knows? It's also 4 months, 1 day after the next president takes office. Also 121 days. The word revelation equals 121. So who knows? Just found that kind of interesting in regards to the 555 stuff. It's even 1 month, 17 days, a lot like 117 after 4/4/1984, where the book starts off of, and it will be 33 years after 1984. So very interesting, but gonna leave it at that. Just wanted to show a few tributes. I'm sure we'll be seeing more that connects back to something to do with this story, or, just possibly just something to do with the stupid not standing for the national anthem stuff. But, like I said, leaving it at that. Have a good one.